Bro, I don't even need to hear the word depression. I don't even care about that because that's not anything that I identify with anymore.
Nice.
I'm 100% cured. I'm 100% better because I've been listening to the Jesse Lee Peterson show, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate you. And I just can't even, begin to tell you how much I really appreciate the things that you're doing for young men. Young men need to hear this, and young men need to know this message that you're delivering because it's important. It's vital to their lives, Jesse. I just wanted to let you know that, man.
That's amazing. I mean, you made my day, man. When I hear one soul has returned to the Father, it's like 1,000. It's better than silver and gold. So God bless you, man. We have a counseling service, and I have to admit, thanks to God, it is the best counseling service on this side of heaven. I counsel with men and women, families, individuals around the world. Most people are unhappy, they're miserable, they have rough lives, they're depressed, suicidal, young and old, of all races. I understand, I know why, and I do understand it. Because exactly what's happening in me is happening with everybody outside of me, inside of them. And I've noticed that with those who really, really, really want to understand, they overcome it just like that, out of one counseling session. If you need counseling, you can go to rebuildingaman.com or call 800-411-2663. 800-411-BOND. Best counseling service on this side of heaven. Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home. That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. He's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room,
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border, and then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. How you doing, everybody? Welcome. Appreciate you tuning in on this fine Monday. Welcome. And it's a pleasure to be back on this fine Monday. I got a bit of a show for you. We got a bit of a show. It's Lucy, it's Goosey, and look, there's all sorts of stuff. What are we waiting on? We're waiting on war. We're waiting on this and that. They're talking about Frisco, Texas stabbing. They're still on the immigration, Kilmar Garcia and all that. So that's the cycle. That's what they're on. And I don't know. So, me, I'll report on this and that, but trying to see the code here, the matrix. So we're going to spend a day here, loosey goosey, talking about this and that, as many things are going on. Many things are going on. They say JD killed the Pope. JD, his gaze. He looked upon the Pope. They quibbled about immigration, and then he died. Now, I'm adding quite a lot. In fact, only some of that happened, like they met. But about killing him, I don't know. I'm just messing around. But that's what they say. They say, apocalypsis. They say apocalypsis is coming. The revelation. What's this about treasures beneath the Vatican? You ever hear about that? You've been hearing that about with Jesse? But anyways, there's all sorts of stuff to get into. There's a scam around every corner. Maybe I'll tell you about that. And, you know, there's some updates on the news, on the cycle. Kilmar, Frisco. They're saying this dad is going around basically calling out the white racists, right? You guys are just white racists, whatever he called them, white trash. And it's like, will America survive this? Honestly, I think it'll be another story. It'll be another story in the slow change, evolution of America, call it that. And it's changed because the people have changed. Visceral, like, as viscerally, is that even the proper term here? As, you know, immigration, that's pretty visceral, right? Well, that's a Guatemalan. I don't know, used to that. But maybe a bunch of you are used to that by now, come on. And other ways as well, like religion, you know. Easters, you know, this whole Easter thing. Is it true? Biden really did, almost forgot. Biden really did a trans day of visibility on Easter. Is that true? I think that's true according to the GPTs, but you know, I tell GPT to give me sources. I use it as a jumping off point because this thing can go psycho sometimes. But hey, Jerusalem Post, back to back. I don't know why it's quoting Jerusalem Post back to back to back. Oh, it's because I asked it about the Vatican. No, but about the Trans Day of Visibility, yeah. 2024, Joe Biden, proclamation recognizing March 31st as Transgender Day of Visibility, which it was a coincidence. It fell on Easter Sunday that year. It was just a mere coincidence, says Wikipedia. It's just a coincidence. But hey, kind of a big diff, no? Bleak Factuals. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Nice to see you in the chat. I didn't even do housekeeping. 888-775-3773 if you want to call in. Speak with the Anchor Baby. I'm live on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby, punchy.tv/Anchor Baby, dlive.tv/Gorgonzola. And what's up to everybody on YouTube? Thanks. Like, subscribe, do the things. Don't be rude. Make sure you click the like button. JD didn't poison the Pope, okay? It was just his mere look. Conspiracies in the chat. What's up? Okay, so what else here? Look, welcome. Like the stream. 888-775-3773. You know, that's quite a difference, no? Trans Day of Visibility on Easter's versus Trump's Easter. I mean, remember, didn't they have this, like, Last Supper thing? Remember this thing? Now, what the heck was this about? I forgot. Now, I don't even think this was America, right? This was somewhere else. But this, like, this Last Supper. This may be a stretch because now I'm remembering I don't think this was even in America, but this was news. Was this France? But they did their little Last Supper. So Biden is president, and it's just like satanic, like, we hate Jesus. It's not even like, hey, we're just not cool with that. We're doing our own thing. We're doing something different. It's about good. It's about this, and this is why we're right. No, it's like, let's take the Christian stuff and take a doo-doo all over, right? Like makeup, drag queens. Whoa, they're going to really hate that. Let's stir the pot. So it's like you don't even have an answer. You're just mad. So if that's the difference, it's just bird's eye view, right? Very shallow. Like whatever you think about religion, it's fall, you know. Whatever you think about it. You got to admit that on one hand you had, okay, we're just mad, so burn it down and put on the makeup because these Christians hate it. And on the other hand, it's like, all right, let's at least pretend. At the very least, right? Because that's the least you could say. Let's pretend that we are Christian. I mean, what pick door number 1 or door number 2? All you Guatemalans look the same to me, Nick, says Kevin. But am I wrong? Is that the right word to use? Visceral? Isn't that relating to visceral? Thanks. Thank you. A visceral fear of change. Isn't that visceral? Right? Like, what's more visceral? A Danish immigrant or a Sudanese immigrant? Language, read between the lines, right? Kind of thing. 888-775-3773. Calls coming in. We'll get to all of you. You know, they had this glowing article of the Pope Francis. You know, this whole media thing, if there's a lesson to keep here. It's this measure, this way you can measure what's going on. You should know by now. What is the media saying? If the media when the media loves you, you should have some kind of attention. So we can't forget these lessons. And CNN has got this glowing article with the Pope Francis. They love him. Pope Francis, life in pictures. Thanks for the calls. We'll get to all of you. 888-775-3773. But Pope Francis here. A voice for the poor who overcame fear resistance to reshape. Hold on. To reshape the church. Died Monday. The Vatican announced he was 88. Whoa. Hold. 88. And yeah, so glowing article. They love how he loved the poor and stuff. He was just reforming the church. They say Time magazine, The Guardian, they say his reforms were centered around compassion. Okay, he famously asked, "Who am I to judge?" Oh, hold on. He famously asked, "Who am I to judge? Who am I to judge?" when discussing LGBTQ plus individuals, signaling a shift towards a more accepting stance. He also advocated for allowing divorced and remarried Catholics to receive communion, promoting a more pastoral approach to complex personal situations. Nice, Pope Francis. He's doing it for the people. Because that church, you know how that church, Catholic Church, all mean for what? Add a couple zeros, right? We're talking 3 zeros maybe? Is that fair? 3 zeros? 3 zeros of the Catholic Church? No, you're going to hell. You better confess your sins. And, oh, you got a divorce? Yeah, well, guess what? You don't get to eat the wafer. Is that what this means? No communion? So they didn't allow remarried and divorced Catholics to receive communion? Based? What happened to the Catholic Church? So based. No wafer for you. What does that mean, right? No wafer means no body of Christ. What does that mean? Like, it's over for me? You're telling me, because I just put yourself in the shoes of a Catholic for a second. You're like, okay, I'm a Catholic. I love God. I'm going to eat the wafer. I eat the wafer because I love God and Jesus, whom I think many Catholics think Jesus is God. And then you're told you can't ever eat the wafer again. You messed up with your marriage. And I guess, is that supposed to be authority from God? I don't know. I'm nitpicking. Like who? Maybe they don't get to. Does not eating the wafer mean you're still saved? Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Maybe you're still saved. You're still saved, but you don't get to eat the wafer. So then maybe we can move on. But it's like, well, Catholic. The unforgivable sin is divorce and remarriage. I could get with it a little bit. But I'm a little bit modern. I didn't grow. Not modern in the sense that I want to be liberal. Let's just do whatever we want. But I also know that there's something wrong in what we've been taught. And that's why marriage and all this has been going wrong. If you really consider for a moment and expand that further, that's why the Catholic Church that's why Pope Francis had to be the Pope, and that's why Pope Francis had to act the way he did. Whatever you may think it was, however he felt about it, how sincere he was, if it was evil or not, we could talk about that after, I guess, but whatever you think about that, the real driving force of it was, you're losing, the Catholic Church is waning, you're losing members and all that. And so in a survival move, not as a real doctrinal change, but as a survival move, you say, you take this stance, right? But whatever. What was I saying? I can get with the being tough with the marriage. But what I'm getting at is that I'm trying to express how my knowledge, I guess, of how this Catholic Church really for so long was simply a stabilizing force, a cultural force, political in many ways. And in that way, and political is what? It's a way of society building and society controlling, which I guess you need to do for civilization. But you understand, if you know anything about politics, politics has nothing to do with what's right and what's true. It's about what works. Okay? And so it's a little bit of a survival move in my opinion. You know, for so long being, I guess, tough on the homosexual and on the divorced. Isn't that funny? The divorced and the homosexual. Same to the Catholic, you know. Hey, based. But love your wife. But so what was I saying here? Look, I'm just rambling about the Catholic Church here. Divorced and remarried Catholic. So he switched it up. He's like, who am I to judge? They say that's liberal, quite liberal. And it sure sounds it. I mean, come on. It's a feelings thing. It's a feelings thing, born out of, in my opinion, a survival thing, how to keep the Catholic Church going. What's funny is that that's worked in some ways by bringing women into the Catholic Church in many different denominations, and you've seen this. But there's another side to the coin, young Catholic men. There's been a huge spike in young Catholic men. And I forgot, I don't have the stats for you, but I saw this, and there's this spike in a young Catholic men becoming Catholic. And I think that's more has to do with the another side to the political coin, but this other flavor of we need to defend our traditions and defend against sin and defend against, when you bring it, just consider immigration for a moment. You're telling me some people are confused out there, like, man, these people, these Europeans, these white people, they really got problems. They're like sick. So I saw this woman, academic lady at some New York university, talking about these white people. We keep trying to tell them about racism, but they're not going to get it because they're sick in the head, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, is it really a mystery? Is it really that big of a mystery? Like the big complicated mystery. We need academics, black academics with books to tell us what's wrong with the white heart. So you bring in a whole bunch of people that are not these, like you bring in a bunch of people that are not English in London, for example. You walk around and areas are overrun. People that are not from London at all. People that are not English. And then you hear this and that, and whether it's true or not, you have this sense that you're being scammed. You got bogarted out of something that was taken unfairly. And you got a resurgence in the Catholic Church. You feel me? Like, it's not a mystery. And honestly, when you peel it back, you could see the anger. You could see the anger and not in the DNA of everything. You can see how everyone's responding and reacting, and there's facts and there's lies. There's facts and there's lies, but the DNA, it's like coded in the code. Anger, you see how they're going to react and get mad. You see it. But anyways, that's over here somewhere. We're talking about the Pope, a voice for the poor, reforms into mercy and acceptance. But they had to, kind of beta, I can, reforming with the world as opposed to just seeing where you're wrong. That's just one way of going about things. But he became a champion of the poor and the migrants, they say. Very, very openly. These Catholic charities, some of you are familiar how they're very, very involved in like open borders, bringing people in. They need infrastructure. You need We had some Iberico salchichon from Spain, baby. It's like, don't eat right before going on here. But look, what was I? What was I saying? Yeah, the Pope, you're familiar with these Catholic services, right? Now, you look at the leadership, they're not always all Catholic, but They're bringing them in. They're bringing them in, and they're probably quoting that one scripture. You guys know that one. You bring me your poor and hungry or something. Matthew something. Oh, my gosh. They love that scripture. Have you ever seen that sign? Have you ever seen signs out when you're going around, like, at a beach? And it says, don't feed the birds. If you feed the birds, you'll create a dependent population. What is loving about creating a dependent population? There's nothing loving about so-called charity in the world I grew up in. Nothing. I don't see it. There's nothing loving about a dependent population that you keep dependent. Nick, speaking of alien food, it's Spanish, okay? They're not... Okay, they're not that weird. Bring me your greedy and horrific. Thank you, Zazen. Said it better than me, man, because they're really way worse. They're like the worst in one sense. But anyways, 888-775-3773. I'm going to get to calls here. They say, JD, final meeting before he was gone from this world. JD Vance, you think a look could kill someone? Tell me, folks. Let me ask you something. This is loading slowly. Yeah, you gotta love Daily Mail. Bloated Daily Mail. I go on this website all the time for some reason. But it's okay. Because I'm trying to load something else up in the interim, because you gotta see this. Okay, we got it. They say, look, Pope Francis' final meeting, awkward moment with J.D. Vance after condemning Trump administration's treatment of migrants. So it's like, in his dying breaths, he's like, you guys got to let in, you have to let in, let the immigrantes. God says to let in the immigrantes. But sir, if we do that, America will, we won't be able to help anybody. No. The Dios mío said, he said, let in the immigrantes. You have to let him in. Pope Francis, awkward moment. Dios mío. No. Wonderful. Oh, we can't hear this.
You in better health.
Grazie.
These are for your children.
No, I know like Giorgia Meloni. Isn't that PM? Lady PM who wants to. You think a look could kill? Could a look kill? Could a look kill? Could a single look kill? I'm sorry, Pope Francis. Sorry, Pope Francis. We are not going to be letting in the immigrantes. Sorry, Pope Francis. Bleh. Anyways, that's enough out of the Pope. That's enough out of all this silliness. Let's move on. Burbs are not real, Nit. Burbs are not real. Okay, 888-775-3773. Last thing, because it was in the packet. Southern California mayor says he wants to purge homeless population by giving them all the fentanyl they want. Just give them unto the fent. Just give yourselves unto the fent. That is a radical solution. But I hear you guys now. You guys are like, yeah, based. Southern California mayor says he wants to purge the homeless population. We used to have such a thing in Canada, but we just called it winter. No, that's a joke. We have shelters. They survive winter up there. Purging, I disavow such purging of homeless people. But this guy, isn't this one of those going too far because the simple, true, easy thing wasn't done from the get-go? And isn't the answer to that the simple, true, easy thing can still be done right now? And that's really the only answer. Oh, radical, and we need to kill them all. Or let them kill themselves by way of fentanyl, by way of recreational fentanyl. It's like, well, even now, isn't the answer the simple right thing? Like, well, we don't have to kill them. Just, we're not okay. We're not going to do this whole It's not your fault. You can be on the streets until society figures out the big question mark. Why are you on the street? Why are you there, homeless man? So until we answer the big question mark, we put all the tax money to it. You can no. We just stop doing that. We just stop doing that. Say, hey, you got to move. You can't be a bum. You just can't. Now they're gonna find a way to be bum somewhere out there, somewhere, some way. But you just don't make it a thing, an easy thing, a thing that we appreciate, a thing that was okay. Just like the Easter Christian thing, like we don't have to legislate anything. Just like the people running things are simply Christians, and they're like, yeah, Easter. That's what we used to do. That's what we're gonna do. Simplice, right? But it's tough, right? Because even in the most radical times, you're like, but that's not gonna work. We need to go radical. Don't you know how much work we got to go against to get back to something that makes sense? But that is exactly why the simple right thing needs to be done. And you need to get to where you need to get to naturally as you're supposed to. But I guess that's why the godly path is the difficult one in a sense. I don't even want to call it that, right? So anyways, yeah, I don't know, South Carolina, buddy, purging them, giving them all the fentanyl they want. I think you got a situation on your hands there. But that's it on this. I think that's it on this. Because they say there's all this prophecy about the Vatican and all that. The Third Temple. Maybe we'll get into that briefly. But for now, let's get to some calls here. Appreciate all the calls. 888-775-3773. Lord Spike Protein coming in strong with a big super chat, transforming in the chat. A little Transformers. Very generous, man. Thank you, Lord Spike Protein. Big 07s in the chat. Always appreciative. Big ballers in the chat, folks. Let's go. Thank you, Lord Spike Protein. Now, let's see what else. Let's see what else before we get to calls here. Chaos Confessional. We got Glizzies in the chat. Thank you so much. Make sure you get 07s and Glizzies in the chat for the folks, for the beautiful supporters of the show. What's up, D-Live? What's up, Rumble? I haven't seen you guys. Stretching your legs over there, Rumble. How you doing, Carport DJT? Appreciate all my supporters. And the people watching on Punchy. Nice. I see a few of you there. Okay. You know, I almost forgot. Liesel, man. Liesel with a very, very generous coffees. Countless coffees on buymeacoffee.com/anchor, baby. I can't even hold them all. You probably couldn't even fill this table. You probably need more than this table with all those coffees, Liesel. Thank you so much for your support. That's major. And Sion, I haven't seen you there. Nice. Thanks for the coffees. Buymeacoffee.com/anchor, baby. Very nice. Yeah, I don't think I could fit if I had that many coffees, Liesel, I would need 2 of these tables. Thank you so much. All right, let's get to William out of California. Sir, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Nick? How was your weekend?
Great weekend. No complaints here.
Right on. Congratulations from a really good week last week.
Big time.
You know, when you got in the car, I've never seen anybody do that. That's a good idea, man.
You were catching some of that? Okay. I think we got something unique on our hands.
I think you do. I was like, that. And you like gadgets so much. I do
right.
Too, but you like stuff. And I was like, thinking, I'm like, man, if he's riding through the neighborhoods of Los Angeles and everything, it'd have been just nice to hear something like that record Hollywood by Rufus and Shaka Khan.
Writing it down.
So dope. Yeah, write that down.
Okay.
Write that song down.
Okay, we should do that. We should talk, because I was doing a bunch of things on Friday, but one aspect, I had the camera up in the car and we were driving, taking calls.
Yeah.
spinning some tunes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a stream. That's a show.
And the
Driving with Dad, but I'm not a dad.
Well, I think you probably get the mixing down
Yeah.
where you could take both.
Big.
You know what I mean? So the mix would be perfectly adjusted where you could take the calls while the theme is going and you're going through the LA and everything.
I love
it. It was dope. I thought it was
Thank
dope.
you for that. Yeah, thanks for catching that. I did a
Yeah.
We've been experimenting these Friday, folks, so if you didn't catch that.
I think everybody else enjoyed it too. It was different,
Very
man.
nice.
I had never seen anybody do it. Whoever thought about it is a good idea.
Nice, man. Thank you.
And the flights were cool too, but I
Right.
think this is even better. This like really caught my eye.
Very cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically it's like a video game. Like I'm out there, I'm your guy.
Right. It kind of gives everybody like it seemed more personal. I liked it.
Cool. Thanks for that, Willem.
Yeah, and happy belated Easter as well. So
Right on.
I see everybody's kind of talking about the Catholics a lot. You know, I'm Catholic. Well,
That's true. I almost forgot about that.
yeah. Well,
Are you familiar with divorced people not getting communion?
You know, I won't get too much in it because I've never been married. So if I do get married, I don't intend to get divorced. So
I heard marriage is one of the what are they? So I was confirmed, and I did my first communion, and I was confirmed, and I forget what else, but
yeah.
What are those called? I forget. All those things I just mentioned are part of a group of things that you call them something.
It is a whole lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, mentioning Pope Francis, my opinion of him, if you'd like to hear it,
yeah,
he was a little bit liberal for my taste.
Yeah.
Really open to no borders and kind of loose.
Right.
Yeah.
And his only justification is compassion. I wonder, do they have that same compassion at the Vatican? You know, that's like their own.
Yeah.
They have like their own state, no?
Well, see, I went to a Jesuit high school,
Mm.
and Jesuits are part of the Catholic Church. And I don't know everything about them, but what I gathered them to be is like more like soldiers of order within the church. They recruit a lot of geniuses. Oh, the school was hard as can be. That's why you see a lot of Catholic universities, and they're real powerful and everything. They like to recruit a lot of borderline geniuses. I'm not one, but I mean I can tell you the school was hard. I mean, you went home and did your homework. It was really hard. It was tough. And the church that I'm involved in is St. Ignatius in San Francisco, and then I went to St. Ignatius High School, and I'd never been to such a hard school. It was really hard, Nick. But the Jesuits, you could kind of look at them like, you see how like the Navy SEALs and the Marine Corps have special units, but they still answer to the same, they still answer to the same boss,
Right.
the admiral. So it's kind of like that. And then there's some other deep things where I've heard, all Jesuits are Catholic, but not all Catholics are Jesuit.
Ah,
Very
I see.
deep, though. Very deep. So they're like into the order of the church, and then the Pope. Yeah, he's Nick. He can get into a little bit of politics, but not like the traditional way. He's
Like
got
in
a
general,
word.
you mean any pope?
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it is kind of weird that you said that, was it Pride Day or what was it that fall on the same?
Oh, yeah, it was Trans Day of Visibility fell on Easter in 2024 under Biden.
Under Biden, that's probably why.
Right. I don't think that was an
I
accident.
don't know if that was a coincidence or not, but I think that might be one of the reasons that like I said, Pope Francis was real liberal, and he kind of died a little early by Pope standards. They usually they get up there in age. But
The word I was looking for is sacraments, by the way.
I think isn't he from Argentina? Isn't he from?
That's right. That's right. He was the first Latin American pope. He came from Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires.
he was the one that, or Jesse was talking about, I wonder if they'll have a woman pope. But he was the one that would be open to something like that.
Yeah.
And it would definitely be a conflict of interest within the church if that would ever happen. People talk about it a lot, but as you can see there, as you know, but the Catholic Church is pretty powerful. You know, the universities and schools, they're pretty powerful. So, you know, I just go. I don't get too deep into the doctrine like some, you know. I mean, people have always had opinions. Hey, I know you go to the school, but you go to that church too. And I would look at them, you know, like, yeah, you know, I mean, you know, leave them alone, whatever. You know, you got to get that deep into it, you know. But they got it's a lot of stuff. I can't even.
I actually predict the Pope. I think the replacement might actually be more kind of a supposed step more towards Trump than away. Actually, there's a bit. I think, and they're already saying there's these two people who are. You mean
they would lean toward more to somebody conservative like Trump?
Right, and I think even more willing to be like,
Francis,
yeah.
That's why he stood out, because he was like, you heard me what I said.
I think the pendulum is swinging the other way, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I found him to be a kind of liberal. I did.
Right.
And there is a thing called forgiveness too. A Jesuit was going to be more of an individual. In other words, you kind of know better. You don't need a group to make you know better, which we really don't, do we? We should know right from wrong on our own.
You know, yeah, I guess so, right? Definitely not a. I think that's even in the Bible. No, I have no teacher, I have no authority over you like that.
You see how the blacks like to jump on group things?
Yeah.
Like the thing with this kid in Texas, group thing.
You're right, because when we jump to the group when we have nothing else. You're right.
Yeah,
we don't have the truth. We don't have our own understanding, so we jump to the group like that. That is major.
The groups will look down. They'll look down at like especially the blacks. Most blacks will look down on any black that's got his own individual thinking, whether it's right or wrong, or it agrees with you or not. If he has his own way, and he's confident in what he believes in, and just walks his own walk, a lot of the blacks will turn their nose up to that. You know, like, you're supposed to join us. You're supposed to,
exactly.
Be on board. Yeah, you're supposed to be on board. That kind of stuff.
Terrible force. That's a force that would you won't get the engineers and thinkers and achievers of your people, of your society, or of your group.
Exactly.
With that mentality.
So they kind of match up with the Jesuits. Kind of, they're Catholic, but they're kind of like the order of the Catholic Church, like soldiers, and they kind of emphasize on individuality. You should know better yourself. Shouldn't need a group to follow to make that good or bad or whatever.
Did you do any of the sacraments? You get confirmed and anything like that?
I did all kind. I don't want to dox myself. I did
no.
I was in it all. I was in this stuff all my life.
Because I heard that after I got someone told me the other day that since I got confirmed that I am officially in the Catholic faith.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking about that when I was in school.
Yeah, me too. It's from birth. Catholics are baptized, and it's all I've known all my life. Now, here's the deal: am I open to anybody else's church and to visit and to fellowship with others? I will definitely do that. It doesn't bother me at all.
Right on, William.
I guess if last week you had a good show, Nick. Like I said, there was a good idea in the car and everything. And the last time I talked to you, I noticed you got into it again with another individual about some things. But it's just that I noticed that, what you just got to do is just be quicker on your feet and say, hey, individual, where did these houses get burned down that you're talking about?
Right.
And who burned? See, she'll mess around with you younger guys with that.
That's right. I was like, you're right. No, you're right. I was sitting there kind of. I had to think about that for a bit. I really did.
I'm too quick. I'm quick draw. Okay, I'll be like, immediately. Hold on. I'm not them youngsters. Check this out. When were these houses burned down?
Right.
Check this out. Who burned down the Watts neighborhoods in the 60s?
And she had
who burned
and this
down
individual
Detroit? Who burned down Chicago? Who burned down the Rodney King? Who burned down Wall Street?
Great questions.
Every time it was blacks. Every time, Nick.
Or on redlining, for example, it's like the same individual. This is an individual. The same individual was like, but blacks owned houses at that time. And then they go on about redlining. And I had to think about it. You're right. I had to really, I wasn't quick with it. I had to think about it for a bit because I was like, wait a second, hold on. You just told me they did own houses. So what is it? Did they own houses or were they redlined?
People lost their property, all nationalities, for many different reasons. Taxes, eminent domain, taxes, freeway coming through your backyard, lots of things. The government can take your stuff. You see, it was said that, you're terrorizing us black people and taking our property and burning it down and taking it from us with the government backing you up. Well, here's the deal. These NCOs and Black Lives Matter groups and everything, and that's all federally funded under the hat where you don't even know. So you just got to be quicker on your feet and just
I got you, William.
How about that?
Yeah,
how about this? Bam! Because if we played a little game of tennis,
I grew up on screens. That's the Zoomer in me, William. So I had to think about it a little bit. It's like I only saw all these things you guys talk about sometimes. I heard about, right? So I had to think about it a bit. But yeah, I'm like, wait, how is it that they were redlined and they had homes? Which one is it? You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is I don't blame you for not. You're younger. Somebody a little bit older than you like that will attack you with that, and you'll be a little slow. James is slow with it too. He'll just cave in. Oh yeah, you're right. No, you're not. Who burned what? Oklahoma, Wall Street. There was blacks involved with burning that down. In Detroit, after Martin Luther King got assassinated, they burned 3 or 4 major cities.
Wow.
Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles. Then we had another one that you're familiar with was the Rodney King.
Right.
You telling me that white people burned that down too? No, not true.
Simple point. I don't know if I've ever really heard that.
Hey, Nick, I'm just not afraid to tell somebody, no, that ain't true.
Fair enough, William. William, appreciate your call on this.
Were you alive during the Rodney King riots?
Like maybe a baby.
Who do you think burned that stuff?
It was black people. That I know.
What about the Watts riots in the 60s?
Right. See, I don't know if I've heard that as a response.
What about Detroit and Chicago? Who burned those?
Riots.
And they're predominantly black towns, aren't they?
That's true.
Hey, man,
that's true. We should never hear about Wall Street this, black burn this or that ever again. Man, it should never be brought up ever again.
You don't get to cherry pick something that you wasn't around for and then bring it up in a convenient situation to compare it to today. That was then. This is today. There's nothing a white man can do that I can't do.
Loud and clear, William.
You want to name it? If there is, I'll look into it. But there's really nothing a white man can do that I can't do.
Except have white skin. But even that you could do, I think, if you really wanted to. William, man, appreciate your call on this. Call me again.
Okay, take care.
Right? They have like bleaching compounds. Right? Maybe you can induce vitiligo. I don't know. Maybe there's something you can do there. So even that. Now blackening the skin. Now that is a difficult one. Other than like adding literal pigment, like tattooing yourself, right? Like pigment. Yeah. It's hard to melanate an individual. You know how difficult that is? Melanate an individual? You got to be born with it. Now demelanate someone. Now that's a much easier thing to do, right? You breaking down the melanin molecule. It you literally break it down, your body flushes it out, and then wow, that's white skin. But remelanating someone, no. That's like giving someone back soul, giving someone. Remember, weren't they saying that melanated individuals? They talked about the news, the articles, especially during George Floyd, were so glowing about having melanin. It's like it was akin to having a soul. But it is a fact. It's not very easy to melanate skin. That's a difficult thing to do. Take melanin pills. It's easy. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Melanin pills? You can't You can't metabolize melanin unless I'm a crazy person. There's no way. Enhanced tanning in conjunction with UV exposure. However, the effectiveness is debated. Yeah, they're tanning pills, Frederick. Is that what you're talking about? I'm just reading about this now, but I'm an ignorant. It's not like I know biochemistry like that. Very, very cursory knowledge on some of this stuff. The molecule of melanin is interesting. It's like a pigment. It's very close to like a dye. It's interesting. It breaks down in a similar way. But melanin pills, like Frederick is saying in the chat, I don't know. They sell them as tanning pills apparently. But I don't know. I don't know, Frederick. I don't know. I'm clueless. Fair enough. But Frederick, come on. Tanning pills? Where are you getting these hoax tanning pills, man? Stay off the tanning pills, bro. Love your beautiful black skin the way it is. You don't need the tanning pills. Nitisinone increases melanin in people with albinism. It does look like he has more pigment here, not a lot. Not a lot, but he looks like a blonde person. He's like a blonde person in the left, and apparently is an albino person. And on the right, his hair is darker. Now his skin is still pretty darn white skin. I guess this is this is one case of a nitisinone user. Now nitisinone, I don't know, that doesn't sound like melanin, but it's probably one of those metabolic pathways, nitisinone into something else. But anyways, go stare at the sun for about 4 to 5 hours a day and you will turn black. Frederick, can you tell these clueless people about melanin? Because they think they could become black by getting sun. Okay? He's passing. He's black to me. That guy's black to me. Let's get to one more story. Let me do this real quick, then get back to calls. 888-775-3773 now. Is Apocalypsis interesting enough to spend 5 minutes on this? They say there's a prophecy. The Pope Francis, his death, and the successor. And all these religious prophecies. The 12th century prophecy of the popes, reportedly uncovered in the Vatican's secret archives, claims to predict the identity of Francis' successor, a 900-year-old prophetic manuscript, and even foretells the return of Christ. Okay, well, now it's just comic book. Now it's just a LARP. I thought this was a big major manuscript. If it was a big major manuscript, it would have already said Christ came back. I'm getting ahead of myself with that one, just repeating something I heard. But if he's with us, our brother is with us right now. Isn't he back? But that's just me being logical with it. I'll tell you when I see that with my spirit's eyes or whatever. The document contains a series of cryptic Latin phrases, each believed to describe a pope, starting with Celestine. That sounds like a woman. Celestine II in 1143. Celestine II. Tell me that's a female pope. Nope, it's not. We can move on. Fanning the flames is the eerie fact that there are currently 9. I honestly, you know what? I thought it's going to be funnier than and wilder than I thought. This is not that interesting to me. Let's move on. There are claims, I was going to mention, you heard maybe at church, there are claims of hidden temple treasures. But these claims, they come from Jews. And I don't know what to tell you about them. Like, they're just these claims that the Vatican holds the golden menorah and these treasures, these golden treasures, and I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Jerusalem Post has articles on this, but the articles are always like this, like, is there new evidence? Wait, hold up. Hold the phone. Is there new evidence of Jewish temple treasures in the Vatican? Hold the phone. See, guys, we've been trying to tell you these Vatican people stole our stuff. And we got new evidence that it might be true. We've been trying to tell you. There's like the Jerusalem Post, nobody else. We've been trying to tell you. They got our stuff. When are you going to give it back? I really don't know. They might have a bunch of stuff, but exactly what it is, its significance, it's all politics to me. It really is. it's merely politics. You know, if we could get enough people to agree with us on the treasures, then it's over for the Catholics. But there are calls. There's been appeals from Jewish leaders, Israeli officials for the return of these alleged treasures. In a notable instance, an Italian member of parliament expressed readiness to return the lost temple vessels to Israel, indicating a willingness to address these historical claims. I don't know. It's a big fight. Big religious fight. You know how it goes. Big religious fight. You know, give it back. But if they pilfered it fair and square, I don't know what to tell you. You know, I really don't know what to tell you, but let's move on from this. Maybe one day we'll spend some time on the Third Temple and what I think Lord Spike Protein requested here, which may or may not be at least in the ballpark of this kind of stuff. What did you request here, Lord Spike Protein? Something about a segment on the Committee of 300. The Committee of 300. Sounds interesting already, Lord Spike Protein. Noted. Not necessarily related to this religious stuff. Just looked at it real quickly. But wanted to let you know I saw your chat there. My African artifacts, Frederick says, he almost says, my African artifacts. Where was I? I'm just rambling now about this stuff. Let's get to another call here because we got Derek out of Nashville, Tennessee. How you doing, sir? You're on the air.
Nick, all is well.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Now, I dipped in a bit late. Did you say you were a confirmed Catholic?
I am, actually.
Welcome to the club. When did that happen?
I went to Catholic school, and I didn't say no I didn't say no, which is a little unlike me, actually, now that I think about it. I didn't sit there and say no when everybody else was doing something.
You just went along with the crowd.
Yeah. They did the first communion. I forget what it was.
You're a little kid then, right? If you went to Catholic school.
Went to Catholic elementary. Yeah, went to Catholic Catholic elementary, right? In America is grades 4 through 8 that's still elementary? Because that's like middle school too, right? People call it middle school.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was in that
confirmation
age.
was like in high school, right?
Right. No, but I did that all in no, you're right. Yeah, high school. Yeah.
Something like that. But I couldn't confirm. Confirming is saying like, oh, this is what you believe.
Right.
All I believed at 15 is I wanted to take Betsy to dinner. But you just kind of go along with it. And not to double back too much, but I think I told you when I realized I wasn't living the way I wanted to, I went and I did what I called my first confession and sat in front of the priest and said all the bad things that I'd done for, 25 years. And I'm like, I guess this is it now. Everything's going to be fine. Nope. Nothing ever changed.
That is interesting.
I wonder at the conclave if
I did the confirmation. I was obstinate during the confirmation thing. No, sorry, not
really?
the confirmation
no, I just
thing.
Went along with the crowd.
The confession thing. The confession thing, I was obstinate. Yeah, I remember I had a scowl on my face, I forget what we were like in grade 6 or something, grade 5 or 6.
Something.
I had a scowl on my face, and I'm like, "What is it your business?" Right? I'm not right. I'm like, "What is it your business?" Right? I had like a sassy pants. What is it your business? Oh, priest, you're gonna want to know my sins. That's the energy I had. I remember.
Well, and even when this was a few years ago, they talk about the Trinity and they're all that God and Jesus are the same thing, and this is what we believe. And I just always remember saying, "Okay," I'm like, "I'll figure it out later." It never made any sense.
Yeah.
But yesterday at church, when Jesse was saying that Christ is your brother, like God is your father, that just I don't know at a gut level seems to make more sense to me. But I love the Catholics.
In what way?
So,
in what way did that make sense to you?
Because, well, actually, I want to get into the main reason I called you, and maybe that'll answer the question.
Fair enough.
Now, I listened to church yesterday, and then I listened to the one in October. And Jesse said something, I took a couple notes about how he was laughed at a lot of his life, but he never got yelled at for speaking up. And something came to me when I was a boy. I was born early, and so I was small for my age. And my dad worked 50, 60 hours a week. And so Mom took care of the house, and I would come home a total mess. And my mother thought there was something wrong with me. And so she made me all these doctor appointments, and with mental doctors and physical doctors and this and that. And they kept saying, there's nothing wrong with your son at all. He's fine. And my dad went along with it. And I remember he got irritated about having to go to all these doctor appointments. And, this is like the 80s, right? Kids are like, there was no such thing as bullying, but then, so sorry. But my dad just took me aside after that last, I remember he got in a bit of an argument with my mom, and he goes, Derek, you mind your own business. If someone swings a punch, you swing back, but you never start anything. You understand? And I go, yes. And one day this kid came after me, and I was scared to death. And I go, I don't have anything to be scared of. Dad said he'd take care of it. And I beat the tar out of the kid and just told him, like little scrawny me. And I remember, they just give you a white rag, in elementary school. And I sat in the principal's office. And I was just thinking about this when listening to church.
Yeah.
I go, my father is going to take care of this. It's fine. I'm not in trouble. I was always worried about being in trouble and all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat, and I go, I'm not sure what perfect peace is, but that's about as close of an example as I could think of. I just thought about it, just kind of came back to me. My dad's like, we're not taking you to doctors. We're not doing this mama stuff anymore. You just take care of this. You can do this all on your own. Yeah. And I go, well, what happened since that day in elementary school up until now? But to me, when I thought of that, I go, that's what perfect peace seems like to me. I didn't worry, didn't care. I was like, my father will take care of it. So to answer your question, my father is my father. My brother is my brother, right?
Yes.
But there's nothing like my father. And so, I just thought that was interesting, because he's like, you're going to be fine. Speak up if you have to. Who cares who's laughing at you, right? But don't start anything. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
You said, and what happened from then till now? All that happened is you forgot that simple lesson to handle everything. You don't have to retreat to anything, from anything, etc. But anyways, that's interesting, man. I was hearing Jesse talk too. I was thinking about. I remember standing up to my first bully. I don't know if it's a bully. That's just a word we learned growing up, but similar. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is easy. I was like, whoa, that's all I had to do. I remember thinking that was all I had to do.
But I didn't do it on my own. It was the fact that everyone thought there was something wrong with me, and I didn't know. And everyone's like, no, actually, smart kid. Like, he'll grow eventually. It'll be fine. And my dad's like, we are not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
But my father gave me permission to not have any fear about it. And Jesse said something, it might have been in October, but relaxing in the desert. And using that little story, when I was sitting in the principal's office, normally I'd be shaking in my boots. I'm like, I'm fine. Dad's got it. I didn't do anything wrong. My father has it for me. And I don't know. It just came to my head after listening to church yesterday. I go, I think that's the only moment I can think of as being perfect peace. Perfect that I can remember. If that makes it, again,
of course,
might sound like a goofy example.
Upbringing, man, it's like, it really does start in the home. It really does.
But-
And it stays with you, these lessons. And that's crazy,
Well,
the
sometimes
other
they
side
don't.
to that
Apparently
lesson.
it didn't. Because I, from that point forward, I had all this fear, and apparently confession didn't do it, or confirmation, or any of it, right? So,
But yet that lesson's there. It just has to
Which
click.
lesson?
It just has to click, and you go, oh, I see what that was about. I see what he was saying, etc. I'm saying you're saying, oh,
right.
it didn't work. Oh, it didn't work. I'm saying, hearing you speak, it sounds to me like that lesson was always there. That lesson was there, and it had its effect the
I
way
just
it did.
forgot it.
And that's another aspect too. Whatever was supposed to remain from the lesson, yeah, you just forgot, in a sense.
And I think about that today. I'm like, what am I scared about anyway? What?
Yeah.
I do. I carry on inside my head about my feelings. And in that moment, I didn't. I don't know. I
And
just thought it was.
Are you? And you're getting better as you're seeing this. Are you? Are you seeing
I'm
the
so much
signs? Are you
better.
seeing the signs like Jesse was saying this morning?
Well, I haven't listened. I haven't been able.
Oh,
I
no
always
problem
have to
about
listen
that
to Jesse's show at the end of the evening.
No problem about that specifically, then. But yeah, so
Well,
you're
I don't know if
seeing
I-
more. You're seeing and you're seeing.
I guess one good lesson was when I was worried about, I'm like, did I commit the only sin that cannot be forgiven? And I'm just like not, I'm just doing the prayer and just doing that and not, I guess if seeing signs means I don't really get mad anymore at people. And when people are being nasty,
Nice.
I can see. I go, oh, that's not them at all.
Nice.
Like, it's not even there's no effort in that. Like, I have a lot of work to do. Let me tell you. But I think it's things that would really bother me.
Yeah.
They don't anymore, and I can just sort of. And I do catch myself when because I'm not perfect, but when I see it, I go, oh, yeah, they're just all upset because of blah blah blah, and it's not them anyway. So just figure it out and then move on. I don't know what did Jesse say this morning, if you don't mind paraphrasing.
About the signs, seeing the signs of stuff. I'll let you catch the episode on that. It's a little bit long-winded for the time we have now.
Oh, sure.
But nice, man. I'm glad to hear it. That's what it's about. As long as we're getting better, because we really can. We can talk. We can be honest about our lives and be like this and that. But it's gotta. But there is my show. At least me, my show. What I'm doing is not about wallowing, and it's not about misery. Even if we're being real and visceral, it is about. There is life, though. There is a life we can live. And so I'm glad to hear it, man. I'm glad to hear it.
Just one last thing. What Jesse always says, if you think you've got it, you don't have it. And so I'm not going to say I've got it, but is life better? It's not. It's night and day from before I started working on myself. It's night and day. There's no comparison. And that's why I'm so grateful for all of you. I really appreciate it.
Think with it, man.
I will. You have a good one, man.
Call me again.
Bye.
888-775-3773. I was listening to the people talk about fear at church, and I did. A part of me was grateful. I was looking at Jesse, looking at church, and I'm like, damn, thank you, Bond. Seriously. Because I'm listening to some of the people with the fears, and I'm like, I don't have that. And I'm not, this is not, no need to go down that road. Just trying to mention how, I live my life the way I want to, really. I speak to people I want to speak to the way I want to, out in the world, in my life. It's funny, though. It's the people closest to you, maybe, that you just overthink, right? And overthinking is what? It's fear. Overthinking is fear. Overthinking is all that. But I'm like, man, thank you, Bond, for getting me out of my head. I live the life I've, in many ways, I gotta say, in ways that really I could clearly see years ago. Wow, I wouldn't be doing or acting that way because I'd be too afraid. I wouldn't be saying what I want to say because I'd be too afraid. So yeah, thank you, Bond. I don't know. Part of that is just I've also kind of been like that. I don't know what it is because I grew up with women and kind of like an animal. Like they kind of left me to my devices. They were all my sisters were already old, so they were already like out of the house. Some with families because my sisters are my aunts. So I was kind of raised funny. So women around me, but yet I don't know. I like lived on my own at like 15, 16. Like I just went off and like I got to do my own thing. And no one told me to stand up to that bully. I don't even know why that came out of me. I just was sick of being bullied. I just came over this. I kept coming over to this kid's house. Did I ever tell you this story? He lived in the same building, in the same apartment building, and I kept coming over because he had Dragon Ball Z Budokai. And I wanted to play Dragon Ball Z Budokai. But every time I came over, they'd kind of bully me. And it kind of get worse and worse. Like it started off chill, but it's like insults at this point. At this point, it says insults. So I turn around, and it came to me. This came to me. Because this guy's last name is Butts. And I said to him, man, when you were born, the doctor didn't know which end to slap. And his face was like I got him. Like his face changed. Like I got him. I was like, what? That's it? That's all I had to do? That's all I had to do? And I'm like, that was just a funny moment. Hey, Carver knows. What's up, Butts? Shout out Butts. I didn't know I told you guys his full name, although Carver got his full name wrong. That's not exactly his name. I didn't know I told you that. Jay Butts. Oh, loud, not the Butts. You guys know the story. Dragon Ball Z Budokai, man. It's like, what the? So I don't know. I was always kind of like, I don't know. I had something in me or something. Maybe it was God. He's like, this boy, he ain't got no daddy. Somebody's got to help him. Let me give him a little push in the ear, in the soul, in the spirit. Hey, don't you feel kind of beta being in the passenger seat of that girl's car? Shout out. I was about to say her name. You know, maybe it was that. Maybe it was like, hey, gotta help. Somebody's gotta help him out. But I don't know. I kind of did have that in me a little bit. And then I ran off. Where was I? Where were we? We have calls, 888-775-3773. You know another formative memory? I must have been like 4 years old. And I don't remember much from these years. One of my earliest memories is me holding up my hand and going like this to tell some old lady at a dentist office, I think, that I was 3. I remember that for some reason. Unless that's totally fabricated. A formative memory was this house we lived in Miami, and there was a basement. And this basement was dark. It was really, really dark. And it was scary. And I was alone. And this dark basement was there. And I didn't like going down without any lights. It was the worst. And if I ran back up, because the light was down there, so you had to turn off the light and you had to run back up in the darkness. I ran back up really fast because I didn't want the dark to get me. So I'm looking at this dark stair. I'm like, no. And I just kind of yelled and went down and defeated the darkness. I don't know. Anyways, was I 3? Was I 4? I don't know. We got more things here. We got speaking of autism, nobody was speaking of autism. But RFK is on this autism thing a little bit.
I do.
RFK, autism, they're saying it's pretty prevalent. They're saying it's prevalent. It's getting worse. I don't know what they're talking about. I think people are fine. Autism, people on the spectrum, people are just quirky. They're just different.
If I do start to see any evidence of hair loss on my head, I most certainly shall consult a hair restoration specialist immediately.
See, they're just autism. People are just quirky, they're funny, and they're really about keeping their hairline as perfect as possible. In fact, this individual is all about keeping his hairline at a Norwood 0, the same hairline he had as a teenager. And he's letting you know that should that even begin to change, he will quickly seek a remedy for such a thing.
I most certainly shall consult a hair restoration specialist immediately. I'm not going to take any chances. No, I am not going to accept going bald the way some men might. Absolutely not. My body is mine. I rule my body, not the other way around. I am not going to let. I am going to prove that I am superior to nature in this regard. Absolutely, it's my body, my choice. I will maintain my body not only by seeking out hair restoration specialists.
This guy's such an inspiration to me. This guy's such an inspiration to me, and just his fervor and his commitment here, really. His commitment to what is his and only his, and what he has control over, which is not much. But his hair and his body, which is his hairline, that he will control. Okay? He's just an eccentric guy, right? Okay, they say he's autistic. He's part of the show. They call it a love on the spectrum, and I guess it's they join all sorts of people who are on the spectrum, and they say autism is a spectrum. I guess I don't know. Is that still? They used to say Asperger's this. That's not okay. So is autism still a spectrum? Okay, I think it is. ASD. I think they call it that. Is what I'm trying to say. I think they still call it that. It has the nomenclature and academia on this moved on. I don't know, but this guy, what do you guys think? Norwood? Is he really a Norwood zero? I don't know. I'm a little bit suspect here. I've seen a lot of forehead, buddy. And look, I don't say this glibly. I don't say this glibly at all. The Norwood Reaper does not discriminate. The Norwood Reaper does not discriminate. If you don't know what you got to know what Norwood is by now. And so I'm not saying this glibly. I'm not goading the Norwood Reaper here. There's nothing. I don't see. There's no joy in me saying this. Okay, but I don't know if that's a Norwood zero, meaning absolutely zero hair loss. You have the hairline you had as a teenager. I don't know about that.
Hair restoration specialist immediately. I'm not going to take.
Yeah, time may have passed for that, buddy. You got to get on the You need to get on the whole stack. I think you need to do not just minoxidil. You need to do a higher grade minoxidil. You need a micro needle so you could punch holes into your scalp so that minoxidil can get in there deeper. A little finasteride, a couple milligrams of finasteride. Hope you don't have any. Maybe donate to a sperm bank. You never know what might happen in the future with this finasteride. You're messing with hormones, man. You might want children in the future. They say it's very safe and effective, that you might be fine, but hey, it's a risk you're taking, right? So I say the full stack, man. I say the full stack, and I think you'll you'll regain some ground here. I think you'll regain a nice amount of ground here. You'll be surprised. You'll be looking like Elon Musk in no time. Okay? Well, Elon Musk may have gotten plugs, but I don't know.
No, I am not going to accept.
Is it a little sus that Nit knows so much about this? That's not a question I need to answer, Carver. I don't know why you would even ask such a thing.
Going bald the way some men might. Absolutely not. My body is mine. I rule my body, not the other way around. I am not going to let.
So he's on love on the spectrum, okay? And these people, they're out there. They have autism, but they want love. They want love, though. It's been difficult, but you know what? Autistic people want love too.
Would it be all right if we?
Everybody really, this show does get a lot of positive attention on the internet. So people do like seeing these autistic people, get in relationships. They're like, oh, my heart is so warmed and it's grown so full. These people are so honest and loving and
actually kissed.
Why does he talk like is that the autism that's causing him to talk like that, or he talks like a poem? He talks like a rom-com. He talks like a romantic comedy movie.
Would it be all right if we actually kissed?
Slow. What the? Okay.
Alice, should we?
You want to?
You want to? Is she Indian? She did not. I gave it a lot. I gave it a lot. You want to? She did not. She did not talk like that. And I'm being. I don't even know if she's Indian. She did not even sound like that.
You want to?
No, yeah, exactly. I gave it this Indian accent. Like, you want to? You go. So, anyways, look. He talks like a poem. He talks like a poem. You know, is that the autism?
So you have a passion for trains?
She has a passion for trains. Major passion for trains.
Well, what's the MBTA?
Stands for Massachusetts Bay Transportation.
She major shout out to the MBTA, the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority.
Yeah.
Stands for Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. It's also commonly called the T. I am the biggest fan of it. It's one of my special interests. Like, I love it so much. It just gives me so much freedom and independence. It's like therapy for me.
So, I mean, you know, is there something going on? Is there some kind of physical ailment? Like, they do talk a little funny, but I don't know. You know, I think, I know I'm judging here, but why does the gay voice keep coming to mind? Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't even necessarily have to be the gay voice. There's probably a whole bunch of things that could fall under this umbrella, but just things that people do that are essentially at their core merely mental and psychological. Because it's like, you know, this is a pure hypothetical, but if I had a gay person and I strapped them to a chair and I was like, you better speak in a normal voice. You speak in a normal voice right now or you die. They're going to speak in a normal voice. Right? They're going to be like, oh my God. Oh, yes, sir, yes. No, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please do not shoot me, sir. So it's not like a physical thing going on, right? You understand? Like it's mental. So, you know, anyways, autism, I don't know anything about it.
Box. No one can hear you, no one can.
But what was I going to say about this? You know what's the funny thing about autism and a lot of these videos and these people in the Love on the Spectrum show? I notice that a lot of these people do what everybody else wants to do. But like they're allowed. How else do I put this? Tax cattle. Don't think too strongly about that statement. Don't think too strongly about my hypotheticals. Strapping down gays to chairs. Look, tax cattle. Look, don't think too strongly about it, okay? There's a bigger picture here. Okay, so, you know, let's move on. Tax cattle. I noticed they kind of do all the things that most people want to do, but most people, they are not allowed, right? Most people are just not allowed because society, because them's the rules, because you were taught better, because that's just how society is. It's cool, bro. It's Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, I just noticed. Now, there may be other differences between them. I don't know. I'm not a professional on this. There may be a physical structure you can zoom in on and be like, whoa, there's your autism. But I notice I can't think of much differences between, you know, us and them, other than, you know, they behave funny and speak funny, I guess. Sometimes they have a certain way they look, a look in the face or something maybe. But in many cases, I've met a bunch of autistic people, spectrum people who I wouldn't normally be able to tell. Also, that's another thing. I've met a bunch actually on pills, and I'm like, wait, you're on pills for like ADD and stuff? They're like, yeah. So, what else was I going to say about this? Yeah, do you notice that's just like one of the few differences between us and them? It's like they're just allowed to do things we're not allowed. And imagine for a moment if we just told everybody else that they were allowed to as well. When you feel anxiety, you're allowed to just shut down, just like, or like do something else, or I don't know what it is. Or when are you following me in the ballpark? Imagine for a moment a society where we told everybody that. What would happen? Would everybody be on the spectrum? Quite possibly. Autism and RFK, he's saying he's going to deal with it. Claims are 1 in 31. Where is it?
The ASD prevalence rate in 8-year-olds is now 1 in 31.
ASD, autism spectrum disorder.
1 in 31. Shocking. There's an extreme risk for boys. Overall, the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20. And as high in California, which has the best data collection. So it probably also reflects the national trend, 1 in 12.5 boys. This is part of an unrelenting upward trend. The prevalence 2 years ago was 1 in 36. Since the first ADDM report in 1990, which was 1992 births, autism has increased by a factor of 4.8. That's 480%, I believe.
Interesting. Hyperactive boys, you think, Anthony? I'm glad he's there. I don't know what it all means. I don't know what he's gonna reveal, what he's gonna work at, but he's definitely a shake-up force in a world increasingly more incompetent, in a world increasingly dumber and relying on systems and governments and all that. And it's like, yeah, it would be nice if our government that we relied on to make sure the food was safe, FDA, et cetera, worked. That'd be nice. But in that world, with all things considered, I like RFK as a force in all this, shaking it up, bringing a different perspective. Because what the heck might be going on? I don't know if anybody knows. I don't know if anybody has any clue. And that's kind of crazy when you really think about it. Like, it's not like they've even gotten any closer. There's no real, we're talking decades. This is decades. This mental health theories, we're talking decades. Tom Cruise. When did Tom Cruise say this? Hold on. We need to find out. Tom Cruise. I think that I'm Tom Cruise. Give me a second. Let me Google something real quick. 2005. 20 years ago. It's already been, and you got to consider that this was a topic that was like already, you got to consider where this topic was for Tom Cruise to say this in 2005. 2005, remember he got up on that Oprah, he went on the Today Show. On the Today Show. Was that the one where he was on that? No, wait, hold on. Was the 2005 Today Show interview the one where Tom Cruise got up on the couch? Because I think that was with Oprah, not Today Show. He got up like on the couch and started jumping, right? No. The one where he jumped on the couch was also in 2005, the Oprah Winfrey Show, expressing his love for Katie Holmes. It was around this time that he was railing against antidepressants, calling psychiatry a pseudoscience. And that's a funny thing to consider. You got to consider what your parents and what other people just a little older were thinking. What was happening at the time, right? 20 years ago, Tom Cruise goes on there, and so boomer parents or just whoever is watching this, and they're like, "Huh, honey, look at this. Tom Cruise is saying antidepressants and psychiatry is a pseudoscience. Oh my gosh, is he jumping on the couch? Huh, yeah, imagine that. What a great case for meds, huh? Someone get him back on the psychiatric meds. Ha ha ha, right?" And he was right. He's like, right. for decades. The depressions rates are worse, astronomically worse. They're getting worse. There's infinite like subcategories, and everybody's this or that. ADD, this and that. Just put them on the meth. Adderall? You mean? Yeah, it's a stimulant. Don't just put them on the stimulant. It works. We have trials that say they focus more. Well, yeah, doc, it's a stimulant. I mean, well, of course it's gonna do that. Put him on the stimulant. Don't you see this mother is crying and she's up on my case about her son who's just a nightmare? Put him on the stimulant. You know, it's like that was 20 years ago. Tom Cruise, antidepressants, psychiatry. He was widely mocked. Eccentric. But yeah, consider for a moment that there's like no answer. Has there been any real like understand? It's just kind of been the same thing. It's, oh, you're clinically depressed or clinically insane. And we don't know. Here's some drugs. It's kind of been the same for a long time. There's no answer on this. There's no work on this. So I like RFK being in there, shaking it up. Appreciate it on that. How about that? Let's wrap that one up and let's get to Rick out of Hampton, Virginia. I want to get to Rick here and all my callers, 888-775-3773. Rick, Hampton, Virginia, you're on the air.
What's up, brother Nick? What's happening with you, brother?
All is well, Rick. Thanks for holding.
Man, I just want...
Hey, Rick. Oh, no. I'm thinking it's a little blip in the service. He's about to come back any moment here, Rick.
Oh, Nick, can you hear me?
And you're back. We got you back, Rick.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah. I hit the mute button by mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I just want to comment on remarriage. You know,
yeah, okay.
Marriage is designed to be one and done, but a lot of times we get married in trauma, looking for somebody else to fix things that only God can fix. And when that person can't do it, we get mad at them, vice versa for the man. And a lot of times, that's where divorces come from, because people be traumatized and they fall on stage. They mad at the other person, because just like if I got trauma and nobody can fix that, forgive, and give it to God, well, yeah, I think I'm going to get married and think that person's going to fix it. And when they don't fix it, I get disgusted with them, you know?
I see. And you say that's why that happens?
Yeah, I think it happens. People never come out they fall and stay. I think people never deal with their trauma.
Yeah, you bring that with you. You bring that with you. It makes it hard to. But it's like,
yeah.
If only, I bet you so much, I don't know how to put this.
Go ahead.
If you just didn't bring that trauma, like why put that on the other person?
Well, you know, a lot of
We're not responsible for each other in that way. What do you think?
Well, no, we're not. We're not. But we should be able to pick it up on a person. But a lot of times we can't pick it up because we bring the sex in the blindness. But now you ain't thinking about whether that person got any issues or not. You just wondering how hot she is in the bed when y'all going to link back up again for another one.
Yeah, the whole concept of and it's not even it's not for me. It's not. I don't have any kind of like biblical justification and all that in my mind. I just see. How do I put this? I feel like it's like if I marry and have kids and all that, and that doesn't work, like that was my shot. You know what I mean? And that's fine.
Yeah.
That was my attempt. That was my attempt at this marriage thing, and if it didn't work, then we didn't know each other, or I didn't know, etc. And there's the lesson and move. I don't know how else to put it, but I feel like I'd feel a little silly running around trying to find what am I even trying to look for at that point. I guess another wife.
You know, too,
but
that's another thing. A lot of us, I think, it's just to be saying, we be looking for our mates. Because a lot of times we get caught up in love. But see, I've been married before. You know, this is my second marriage, and my first marriage, my wife left me on my first marriage. And,
Rick, a little noise on your phone. Just keep your phone close.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was married. This is my second marriage, and my first wife left me. You know, and I know like a couple of pastors. I don't know if you've ever heard of this pastor, Pastor Geno Jennings. he don't play that, man. You've been remarried, this year go divorce, because she ain't your wife. You still up in the door. I'm serious.
Yeah. Well,
his name Pastor Gino Jennings.
What do you think about that? Is like,
well, you know, I truly believe in a situation like that, once you know better, you do better. I don't believe God will penalize you because now you made an oath to the second wife. You go back to the first wife, you know, and you may have kids by the second wife. You know, I truly believe God will forgive you. But a lot of people say you spend in the those that you get rid of them. But I believe if you're doing right, you're saved, and you're living by God, He's blessing your marriage, I say stay in it. Because you're made an oath to the second wife now.
right. I mean, I think you're right there. You're just speaking on like a common sense thing. Like, there's no reason to, whatever you're doing right now, whatever situation or whatever you're doing right now, let's say you learn something or wake up to something, that's not a good reason to go around nuking your life and just changing things out of a thought. So you're really speaking on a common sense there. That being said, I find it hard to, I just don't see God caring or being involved in these things. I think we just wrote that in a book, called it the Bible.
No,
and then we used it as rules to like,
I'm sorry.
I think we just wrote that in a book and we call it the Bible and we use it as rules to kind of like order society better. But I don't know if God cares or is involved in exactly who you married and who you didn't marry. Like, He knows you're all evil. And it's like, the part where He's involved in is like your individual heart. Like, I just don't see Him involved or caring about all that. Like, yeah, but that woman that's not really your wife because you cheat, you didn't cheat or she didn't cheat or something like that. Like, I don't see Him involved in the minutia like that.
Well, Nick, it's on that same note, because God designed you to marry once, but we bring all our baggage and we all in our fallen state, getting married and just make a hell of each other's lives. And, and now people like to me, people trying to get into polygamy, have 3 or 4 wives, and, and I say, and I'll be saying about that. How the heck you can entertain 4 wives? You can't hardly make decisions for your own life,
I see. They're getting into all sorts of stuff. But I mean, I'm not saying don't have any rules. But
well, I know what you said too, Nick. But I believe those scriptures is meant to be one and done. But we have all kind of other issues and stuff, and that would happen, and we get married, and then looking for that person, to rescue us out of our issues, and only, pretty much what I'm saying, we look for humans to do what only God can do, and then when we don't get the results from that human, we resent them. You see what I mean?
So I think I understand you.
And that's why a lot of times we get married. Sometimes some people have been married 3 or 4 times, and they've been married the many times because they finally saw that they couldn't get that out of humans.
Right. No, that makes sense, Rick. That makes sense. Yeah, you'll end up living a whole life like that. In and out, in and out.
So that's why you have to deal with the trauma. Because like a lot of people don't deal with it. If your father abused you, your mom verbally abused you, you have to overcome that. But see, what a lot of people do now, though, Nick, is draw you into their weakness instead of them overcoming their trauma, you see?
It's a mess, Rick. It really is, Rick. But you got to call me back on some of this, huh? Call me back.
Yes, sir.
And,
absolutely, man.
Just a little noisy on the phone at the end there, but thank you for your call and your commentary on some of this.
I'm walking the park, man. I'm sorry,
no
man.
No problem, Rick. We had a fine call there. The last few minutes, though, I'm just going to end it right here.
Okay, cool. That'll work there, brother. Thank you for taking my call. Love you, man, and keep up the good work.
Take care. 888-775-3773. People be so pressed about every word. He's the author of creation. How would he not be involved in that? Well, no, I'm not speaking clearly too. I'm just thinking, folks, do you think it's like, is he really involved in what we wrote about marriage? Like, it's like God has his, what is true and what's good and marriage and all that, right? But then we wrote about marriage and we wrote about rules and stuff like that. And I'm saying that's the part of God, I feel like, it seems to me like God doesn't care. Why would he care about that? Like, he already knows that you're going around remarrying, not out of love, not out of God's true order, but out of disorder. He knows that he knows that most people are getting married because of disorder. So why would he, you divorced? No wafer for him. Excommunicate him from my church. That just doesn't sound like God to me. He knows that it was all ego and evil anyways. So come back to me. I'm here waiting for you. Come back to me. Male and female, husband and wife, married or unmarried. Just when you're ready, come to me. And it's like it seems to me like you could go to God, which I know is a vague thing, right? We can get into what I mean by that, but you can go to God, married, unmarried, old, young, like. So anyways, I don't think he's involved at that level. What was I saying here? Let's move on. 888-775-3773. Appreciate the coffees. Thank you, someone. Appreciate all the support. Jules, nice to see you over there. Very nice. Rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. Just a rambling man. If he wrote it for us, we would have 1,000 wives. But this is what I'm getting at, Jules. If you're right, if we didn't have this written down in a way, I guess maybe people would be out there having 1,000 wives. But essentially, that you're in your statement, within it lies what I'm getting at. That's why people are doing it, not because it's true and right, but because they read about it and they were told, if you don't do this, society will have 1,000 wives. Be afraid. It's not a commentary to not have these rules or to have these rules. It's more of a commentary on, on belief itself, on the very concept of belief and how that works within us. Because we think we believe out of our own volition. We thought of that. But in most cases, we just simply believe because we were told. And in a lot of cases, we were simply told because it works. So it's not necessarily bad that we were told that. It works. Do you want it to not work? You want chaos? But, it's not deeper than that. It's simply something we were told because it works. Not out of seeing with your own eyes. But now we're up in the clouds again. Let's come back to Earth. We got more stuff here. In fact, another gigantic super chat. Another huge super chat. Big 07's in the chat. Lord Spike Protein, man, is enjoying the show today. And thank you so much for the back-to-back big super chats. Very, very generous. Thank you for enjoying the show, Lord Spike Protein. Seriously. Thank you so much. And Hunter over there. Hunter's Picks over there on Rumble. Sorry for the riff-raff. He has been dealt with expeditiously, Jules. Sorry, Rumble people. Some riff-raff came your way. He has been handled expeditiously. Okay? What a mess. All right, so let's see here. Delete all this. Mute this person forever. Make him go away. Okay. What a mess. Rumble. That's amazing, Lord Spike Protein. Thank you. Okay, so what are we going to do now? Like, let's do this because I have another thing for you. Scams. It's a scam. It's a scam. Do you remember this lady? I kind of remember her. You kind of remember her? Young black lady, young black girl, pretty young black girl with a red bucket hat that says, "Make America Great Again." You know, people were mad over this. Black people are not allowed to think for themselves, be individuals, go, vote differently, etc. You know this. That's a major no. They wouldn't even call this thinking for yourself. They'd call this something else. Bootlicking. I don't know what they'd call it, but they don't call it individuality. Seeing a young black person not voting Democrat. Which, some of you might be kind of like, oh man, I've heard that. That's kind of just like cringy politic talk at this point. It's still a very true thing. The significant percentage blacks vote Democrat. It is, it's a lot. Now, that being said, they're not all voting. They're not all out there voting. So it's only out of those that are voting. But come on, that's not really a good excuse either, because the non-voters spiritually support these voters. They spiritually support those who do vote blue, even if they are a small contingency of the black population. But this lady, if you remember her, some of you don't. I kind of remember her. 2018, we're going back now. This is first Trump term, 2018. She was all like, "I am MAGA, and I don't care who hears it." And she posted all these conversations, which were allegedly texts between her and her family members. Her mom, her describing how, oh my gosh, it's getting hard here. This morning is getting worse and worse. Mom, please, where can I go? She's getting kicked out. I literally work part-time and I can't find an apartment. I can't afford to live on my own. Maybe one of those Trumpies that love you so much could take you in. I'm so disappointed in you. This was an alleged mom talking to her black MAGA daughter, kicking her out. Maybe one of those Trumpies, you love them so much. I'm done talking about this with you. You have until the 14th, and that's that. Mom, please, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Well, this was a hoax back then. 2018, this came out that she was lying. That this was made up. But not before. Hold on. Trying to pull it up here. Don't be fooled. That was not before she made some money out of it, though. What is up with this GoFundMe, Give, Send, Go stuff? Can we set up, like, honestly, chat, let's powwow a bit. Because it seems to me like you could set up any Give, Send, Go, GoFundMe that you want. And it could be a scam. Now, I checked, so don't go out and do this. I'm kind of being bombastic for the show a bit. But seriously, I'm not being that extra considering some of these details. Because even though the rules on, for example, Give, Send, Go say you can't make fraudulent campaigns, you also can't make campaigns for, I believe it was for accused individuals of like really bad crimes, especially if they're still out to trial and all that you just can't. It's something like that. And so there are rules in place, but it seems like the rules don't matter because you can make these donation, Give, Send, Go things for example, Carmelo Anthony, $500,000 after you stab someone to death, accused of murder, but instead you get your bail reduced, $500,000 to your donations, and the whole black community telling you, hey, you're a hero, you're a victim, these racists don't know what's up. And then these comments, you've seen these comments on those Give, Send, Goes? They are like applauding. They are literally, it's not even, there's no like nuance, double speak, coded language. No, it's just avowed happiness that a white boy was stabbed to death. It's that bad. You can go look at it yourself. But this woman had set up one of these donations, asking for funds, asking for people if they could find it in their hearts to help a young black Republican pay for school and to live somewhere because she was getting kicked out. She ended up making cash money and is now coming out again. This is an article from just a few days ago. 2025, she's coming out. And it's crazy because I'm reading this article and I'm reading it, I'm just like, wait, hold on. Something's totally wrong here. Like, they don't even say her name. They put her online handle where she published some of this stuff. And I go and look at this online handle and it's hard to see. There's really very little details, her personal details of this girl, other than her face. She full on put her face. But I can't find any like her name details. And I don't know if I got conspiratorial, but I'm reading this article and it felt a little bit like they were protecting her a bit. Because, this is a scam. She got $150,000 according to her because she came out recently just in April saying, hey, by the way, guys, that money, haha, dumb Republicans. She's gloating, saying, haha, by the way, remember how I hoaxed you guys? I'm coming out again here just days ago to remind you how I hoaxed you guys and I used your money. To pay for school. I helped finish school debt-free and I moved to Los Angeles and launched my career, she says. We got you, right? And I'm like thinking, wait, hold on. They're not posting her name. It's like, there's a story here, I think. She's totally scammed people. Like, she should be, like, this is maybe even criminal. This is like almost, I think maybe even a criminal scam. All that money she made, that's criminal. Talk about black privilege. Just gloating about a scam, like a full-on scam on a website that handles secure payments. These are the kind of things that are easily verifiable. You know how easily verifiable the information, you got cases. That's how you get cases. That's how you have cases. That's how that works. So I don't know, folks. Somebody find her. And that's a joke. Don't harass this woman. It's just, there might be a story there. But I wanted to speak on scams a little bit, I guess. It's just, there's a scam everywhere. And those people willingly don't, right, it was under false pretenses. And there's laws against that, right? We do have laws against that, right? Oh, we don't quite live in a jungle where you just have to fend for, like, every aspect of society you have to be personally responsible for. We're not quite there. If you ask me, I'd say do that now. Do that sooner than later. That's just my style, But where was I? Nick has Colombian privilege. I might. Lord's by protein. I have anchor baby privilege. But on this, what else did I want to say about this? Scams, man. There's scams everywhere. These people willingly gave their money to this person, saying, "Oh, I need money for this." When you willingly give money, I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to say too much in that direction. Actually, there are laws against that. I guess these people, if they have a case, then fight it, get your money back. I don't know what you should do, but when you give money, kind of assume it's gone, right? In the world is a scam. It's like always trying to scam you. If there's someone playing with your emotions, you're being scammed. Okay? Let's say for a moment she's getting kicked out. She really is mad and she's getting kicked out. Again, there's no reason it's not like wrong to be charitable in a sense, in some sense, or generous maybe, but she would be no different than anybody else. Let's just be real. Like, what I'm trying to say there is you would be no more responsible for her than you would anybody else. So if you had decided to donate to that person, consider the money gone. Because it'd be like giving money to a homeless person. If that's what you decide to do with your money, so be it. But She has to fend for herself like anybody else. So anyways, just a commentary on scams here. And the scam of our own government. I was showing this to you guys on Friday. I thought this was a perfect picture that encapsulates so much. Yeah, you're looking at the side of a highway that has not been finished for years, somewhere in New York. Nassau County, the Van Wyck Expressway, where allegedly $700 million have gone to this still materials laying about. This wall's not fit. What is this? And it's like a perfect image. Because you're hearing about tariffs, you're hearing about trade, you're hearing about this and that. And the real true scammers were the enemy within. The scammer that you voted. The scammer that you voted in. Because in these trade deals, they're talking about these trade tariffs and all this. They all made money. America and China both made money. They traded and they made money. There was no scam. There was no, okay, put it like this. The scam is, there was a scam, sure, but the scam was facilitated and only really allowable by the American politicians. Okay, just want to make that clear. You get this point, but I'm like seeing it clearer now. I'm seeing it clearer now where the true scam lies. How there's really has been plenty of wealth. But what did they choose to invest in? Infrastructure, roads, us, the people? No. Fancy trade deals to enrich others. Unfair trade deals so that the deal maker can make some money while foreign agents sell off America, buy America, chop it up, pilfered. But really, the only difference was like the person, who it was, and what they cared about, and if it was America first or not. That's all it was. It was this party. It was this system. Anyways, corruption scams. You get it. We got Marcos out of New Hampshire. I do appreciate your call, sir. You're on the air.
What's going on?
How you doing, Marcos? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to drop in and just drop something on you real quick. So most people I grew up with, and I'm from Boston. I'm from let's just call it low income Boston, right? Most people I grew up with, where they're at right now is a lot of them went through Section 8. A lot of them went in shelters and don't have careers, don't have a marriage, and I'm the youngest out of all of these people. And me, I just got a second full-time job. I got a second baby on the way, and we don't do hospitals. We like to do the old school days. You get the midwife. They come home.
So how does that work?
So you hire a midwife, and you have appointments scheduled every month. She comes, checks on the pregnancy, how's it going, any questions, concerns, checks the vitals, listen to the baby's heartbeat up until when it's time for birth. You let them know you think it's happening, and they come.
Wow!
At the drop of a hat, they come. She came. We did this for our
Wow.
firstborn. Yeah, he was born right in our bathroom.
That's different.
It was great. It was great. I wouldn't want it no other way. My wife
Like in the
had
tub?
And not in the tub, just like on the floor.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Hey.
just right there.
Having babies. Let's go.
Yeah. It was, yeah, so, and again, you pay for that up front, you know?
Mm.
We didn't pay for that with insurance. We paid for it up front.
Interesting.
And, yeah, so what I'm getting at, too, is it's like some people just got it where they work hard, and some people just live like unsuccessful bums. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you an unsuccessful bum. Like, you want to do nothing, but you, like, teetering on the border of being a bum. And a lot of people accept that for the culture, and it's crazy. It's real
Yeah,
crazy,
man. I think you're onto something. I think that speaks to so much more than we give it credit for. Because it's like there's a lot of for you know, I may be talking about some crazy thing on my show, but let's think about it. Let's for real. What are most people like thinking about? They're thinking about they're saying to themselves, there's not enough money to have babies and have a family. There's just things are expensive, inflation, right? They say all these, can't own a house, etc. Concerning those topics, I feel like all the people saying that, they're like, they fall under the category of what you're talking about. People who are just willing to live on that edge of bum, almost a bum, and they've accepted it.
Yeah, they've accepted that they could work at McDonald's. They only got to pay 30% of their paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They could work anywhere they want. They could work at the shoe store,
right?
Grown man, working at a bakery.
Yeah, man.
30%.
I wanted to, Marcos, can you call me again on this? I feel like you made a nice point, and people can smoke on this. I'm not giving you enough time to flesh it out. I wish I did. Punchy TV, new episodes coming out in a few minutes, and I gotta vacate the studio for that, man. Can you call me again on this?
For sure. I just want to drop that in real quick.
I think you touched on a good topic, man. More is possible than we think, and it's easier than we think. It's always easier than we think. Can we at least say that? Because it's all we always think it's something else, but it's all exactly. It's way easier than we think, more possible than we think. Marcos, call me again.
For sure.
And that's being a man. All right, folks, take care. I gotta run. Vacating the studio in the quickness, you know, because we gotta vacate for Punchy TV. Don't miss it. Punchy TV on YouTube, punchy.tv. New episode coming out. Take care, folks. Peace. Bye.